overnight that claimed 3 houses. And GIPPSLAND residents forced to flee as hot winds fuel bushfires towards a major power station.
This is 9 News with Brett McLeod.
Good evening. Victoria is in the grip of a major bushfire crisis tonight as dozens of outbreaks rage out of control. Several homes have been destroyed, freeways closed and entire towns evacuated. More than 14 emergency warnings were issued throughout the day from East Gippsland to Melbourne's northern suburbs. Andrew Lund begins our coverage.
Our long, hot summer promised a day like this, and when it finally arrived, nothing in the fire's path stood a chance.
Flames in your roof now.
At Riddles Creek, George Babenko and his family fought to save what they could.
The boat, the officers, saddles, equipment, the whole lot. The boat's ready to go up, so I suggested to go out because it's about 175 litres of fuel in it.
With no fire crews to help, they battled desperately to stop the flames taking hold of their shed, but were hampered by a lack of water pressure. The ferocious heat eventually forcing them back.
Have you got fireys in there they're trying to protect you?
No, they've gone.
They can't be everywhere.
Yeah, they've gone over here because this house, there's a weatherboard house over here on this big property and it's gone.
The heat of this fire is very intense and the water pressure here, unfortunately, not enough to fight those flames, which, as you can see, are taking hold extremely rapidly, fanned by a very strong wind. The worst bushfire conditions in 5 years fanned more than 50 out-of-control fires across the state, destroying property, closing roads and forcing entire towns to evacuate. From the air, it was awesome. On the ground, simply terrifying. In suburban Craigieburn, several houses were destroyed, with residents forced to flee.
My mate's, he lives here and just sort of opened the gates up for the horses to, we better get going.
An out-of-control grass fire closed the Calder freeway in both directions. Stranded horses could only look on nervously.
This is the most serious fire day we've had in the state in 5 years, and as predicted, the fires have done exactly that. They've been intense, fast-moving.
Melbourne's entire northern fringe was affected by the fires. The swirling cool change dropped temperatures but brought no relief. Late this afternoon, another emergency warning. Residents in Beveridge, Donnybrook, Calcallo, Mickleham and Wallen were told it's too late to leave.
You can only hope that people had prepared their properties and that it's withstood the test of the fire. But it's also fair to say that properties will be damaged and lost today.
It turns, you can't do anything. You're just gone. You just have to make sure you pack your car with all your loved ones and get out.
And the sheds are obviously...
Let's cross live now to Andrew Lund at Gisborne. And Andrew, where are people going now?
Well, Brett, a lot of people have come to relief centres like the one here at Gardner Reserve. There's also room for horses and livestock if people want to try to get them out the way. A lot of other people have gone to friends and family in town, though. The town of Gisborne is actually considered safe for the time being, so it's probably a good place to be. The wind here seems to have died down a little bit in the last hour or so, although it is still very gusty, and that's the big danger at the moment. Even though the temperatures dropped, the wind is still causing a problem, so it looks like it's going to be a long night for residents and fire crews in the Gisborne and Riddles Creek area. Brett?
All right, Andrew Lund, thank you. And a small but fast-moving grass fire continues to burn at Warrandyte in the city's northeastern fringe, where at least 3 homes have been destroyed. Alexis Day says families tried desperately to save their properties.
Weeks on end of relentless dry heat and today, the cruel consequence. An unstoppable blaze just 30 kilometres out of the city, fast-moving, intense and at the mercy of an unpredictable Mother Nature. Warrandyte families tried desperately to save homes, but even firefighters couldn't control it. Winds roared at 90 kilometres an hour. Flames raced in a southerly direction as water bombers tried to keep up. But it was too late. This afternoon, 3 homes in Glamis Street and Amersham Way confirmed gone.
A couple of hours ago I was hanging out the washing for my wife and I noticed a bit of black smoke behind me and I came outside and the house which you see there was safe, but the one behind it was on fire.
We've got no report of injuries, so the police are currently working through identifying the residents of those houses.
A family of 5 evacuated from their house in Glamis Street, not knowing if they'll see it again.
In 10 minutes, the house had started and was gone to the ground completely. Scary, to be honest. It's still scary now. Just remember seeing it. It's like something You see these things in a movie.
Residents caught out, a testament to the firefront's speed, as spot fires proved just as menacing.
Grabbed the hose and the whole paddock was just covered, full of fire.
Tom tried dousing the flames metres from his own home.
There are embers and flames and the smoke at that stage, the wind was coming towards us.
The wind change through Warrandyte this afternoon brought anything but relief. In fact, it created a new fire front altogether with 80-kilometre winds fuelling the blaze in a northeasterly direction. This family home paying the ultimate price.
These are not categorised as arsons at this stage. It is a matter of just trying to determine what has started these fires.
They weren't the only residents heeding warnings to get out.
Just wanted the wife and kids to get away, just so you could, just to be on the safe side. Better to be safe than sorry.
I just came to get my dad and got him out of here.
But the blaze is still burning. It's impossible to predict its next move.
Our worst nightmares come to fruition when that eastern flank becomes the head fire, and once again, very ferocious fire.
Water bombers try to tackle jumping spot fires, and crews continue blacking out land. Their fight far from over.
Alexa Stage joins me now live. Lexi, do we know what caused the fire there?
No, we don't, Brett, but late this afternoon the arson squad arrived here and they are investigating. I have just been told that early indications are the cause does not look sinister, although it is very early days and that hasn't been confirmed. The fire threat here in Warrandyte has somewhat eased, although the fire has not been contained. So the crews here are telling residents who have already evacuated to stay out. The fire crews are still working hard here at on the ground, and it's expected they will stay here overnight because there are still risks to the homes adjoining those houses that were already impacted today. So look, a slight improvement in conditions, Brett, but as you've already heard, the fight is far from over.
Alexa Station, Warrandyte, thank you. Meantime, several fires in Gippsland have been upgraded to an emergency warning. The worst is bearing down on the town of Buchan, where locals have been ordered to evacuate. We're live now to Seb Costello, who's in the town. Seb, what's the mood like where you are now?
Evening, Brett. Well, it's a bit mixed here in Gippsland. There's some communities that feel like they're out of the woods, where there are others who are very much still under threat. The vision you're about to see is from the small township of Goongerra. That's the view from Jamie Taylor, the local school teacher's place, and you can see that ominous and somewhat frightening red glow that he's looking at in the backyard. Those pictures have just been recorded in the last hour, and that's the situation with fire closing in on all sides of the Goongerra Valley. Well, fortunately, Jamie's place is all right. Some of his neighbours, around half a dozen properties, are very much under threat. They're at the mercy of winds. You can see in some of the pictures there, incredibly strong winds just battering the trees out the back of Jamie's place, and those winds are very unpredictable. In fact, made it so difficult for CFA firefighters that they have pulled out. So those residents in Goongerra now just have their fire plan to rely on. Earlier in the day, CFA attended other fires north of Orbost. You can see some of the haze behind me, and in the pictures you're about to see enormous plumes of smoke that billowed into the sky, almost reminiscent of some old military testing footage. It was really quite extraordinary, and that was a large bushfire that threatened communities like Jarramond and also Beatbelong. That's recently been downgraded despite earlier some very strong warnings from firefighters to evacuate. Where I am here in Buchan, residents watched that smoke billow into the sky, and so you can understand as they saw that happening, it was a very anxious day.
We're a little bit anxious because we don't know which way it's going to come up over the hill and how fast it's going to come. Been preparing for a couple of days.
And there's other fires also in the Gippsland region, with parts of Morwell under threat. Some aerial pictures from earlier this afternoon will show just how close those fires were burning towards properties on the western fringe of Morwell. Again, residents encouraged to get out of that area. Part of that threat also on some of the power stations down there. Fire authorities confirming that fire got into the open cut coal mine at Hazelwood and also affected some of the lawn mines as well. So a real fight on the hands there for Gippsland firefighters in the areas of Morwell. Brett?
Certainly a long, tough night ahead. Seb Costello, thank you. And for the latest information in your area, call the Bushfire Emergency Line on 1800 240 667 or follow the CFA on Twitter and visit their website. And 5 years after